All right, all right. Welcome back to the show. It's Christine Jewell, and we are on the Breaking Chains podcast. As always, we are here to break free from the chains of our past and really step into a life of freedom, fulfillment, just yes, a life of yes. There's more than enough time to do all the things that we love. And I'm joined today by Chris Rodak. He is the founder of Rising Father. I've been following his page for a while. He talks a lot about all the things: masculinity, leadership, self-discipline, family, all the good stuff. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Awesome to meet you. Glad you reached out, and I followed you. I think I followed you back. Been checking out your page, and I think we're on the same page with some stuff, and we're gonna have a good conversation. Glad to be here.
Good. I love it. I love the fact that there's so much of this now. There's just a really rising tide of a movement of people calling men back to rise, to, step into a new way of leading. And I love this conversation. And I have such a heart, especially for men, especially for the masculine. Myself growing up in a family where my dad was an alcoholic and really super high achiever, always striving, always chasing, but never really able to connect with us, and ended up leaving kind of a wake of destruction. And then hindsight being 2020, you go back and you realize, oh, he was just really hurting and he didn't have the tools and he didn't have his own dad and all this stuff. So I have a heart for these men and this message. So thank you for being here. Well, I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about you. Let's go. Tell us a little bit of your backstory. I know you have an interesting backstory. Huge family.
Sure. Huge family, yeah.
Tell us a little bit of your backstory and what brought you to do the work that you are. Like, what's the fire inside of you for this work?
Sure. My name's Chris, and I grew up in Westview, Pennsylvania. So it's a little suburb outside of Pittsburgh, and grew up in a large Catholic family, 4 brothers, 4 sisters. So we had 11 people in our house, and it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. So we were always pounding on the door when trying to get in the bathroom. And we had a huge old Chevy station wagon with the backward seats, and the exhaust was pumping in the back. And so there was craziness. There was chaos at our house. But there's also amazing times as well. Whenever you have that many people shoved into a small spot, you're going to have fights, but you're also going to have amazing memories. Like my favorite memories are Christmas time, their meals, or all that. So we grew up. My parents sent us to a Catholic school. Very expensive, obviously, to send 9 people to a private Catholic school. We didn't go out to eat a lot, obviously, because it was crazy expensive. It's already expensive for us. Go to Chick-fil-A, it's like $70 for a family of 4. So for my parents, if we would go out to eat, it'd be like, to McDonald's or something like that. Occasionally we'd go to Olive Garden. That was our fancy meal. Still, even that was probably $200 or something.
Yeah.
So grew up there. I was really involved in music in high school. Eventually I went to college to be a music teacher.
Okay.
So I went to college in Youngstown, Ohio to become a music teacher. I had an awesome saxophone professor. I'm a saxophone player. Became a professional saxophone player. I taught in Salem, Ohio for a year. Then I taught in a couple of different school districts around Pennsylvania. So I was a music teacher for about 14 years. And in that time, my life varied greatly. So, I met my wife in college. We got married 1 year out of college. And before I got married, I had like my fitness is a really large impact on what I do and why I have Rising Father, my story. So I'll bring that into it.
Yeah.
So whenever I was a sophomore in college, I got big, strong, I got jacked, and I got in great shape. Then I went all in on saxophone because I became one of the best saxophone players in our college. And then I got fat. And then I graduated. And I said, I'm disgusted with myself. I want to get ripped again. So I did this Beachbody workout called P90X, and I did it 3 times.
I remember that.
I did it 3 times in a row. I got ripped again, had an 8-pack, got shredded because I was doing it while I was living by myself at my first teaching job. And then I got married, went on a honeymoon, and at this Sandals Jamaica resort, just ate and drank because I thought I deserved it. I thought I deserved a break because I worked so hard. I think I gained 10 to 15 pounds in that 1 week. Pictures. It was crazy. Just pictures of me sitting, just drinking and having a great time. And then after that, I was still in that zone when I came home. And then the summer passed because we were teachers. We didn't have to work that summer. So I kept on drinking and I kept on eating. Didn't work out anymore. By the end of the summer, I was probably 30 pounds heavier. And then a decade went by. I never got back to that shape. completely lost my discipline and got motivated, unmotivated, motivated, unmotivated. And all the time I kept on looking back to these pictures of myself whenever I was ripped and shredded. And I kept on thinking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get back there again?
Yeah.
That was the man I am. I was so disciplined. I remember waking up at, an hour before I had to go to my teaching job, doing my hour-long workout, teaching, bringing little meal prep containers of food, and then going home and running 7 miles. I was like, how did I do that? That person felt like
who is that guy?
Yeah, I was like, who is this person I used to be?
Yeah.
Because at that point, I was like having a glass of whiskey at night. I was sleeping in. I was sloppy. I was eating whatever I wanted. I was like, man, these are two completely different people. And then I would see something that would motivate me, and I'd get motivated for a couple months. I'd make a little progress, get complacent again, and that roller coaster would happen for a while. So a lot, and then you can just stop me whenever. I'm going through my story.
No, I love it because I'm taking notes, because we are going to talk a lot about fitness, discipline, excellence today, because it's huge and it's an ongoing conversation. So So
I'm moving forward in the timeline. So as I was teaching, I said I wanted to be a music teacher as I was a student in high school. I loved I wanted to be a music teacher because I loved my music teacher so much. And as a child, as a student, I said, because I loved this class so much, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I said that as a teenager. And then after I took that job, after a couple of years, I was like, hey, maybe my goals can change. Maybe I don't have to be strapped to the dreams I had as a child. So I realized, I went to college. I became great at the skill I went all in on. But being a music teacher is very different than being in band class as a student, with all the other things you have to deal with. So I said, hey, I wasn't enjoying my job at that point. I knew I wanted to make more income. I wanted to do something different, like dealing with parents, and the reality of being a public music teacher. It was like that Disney movie Soul. Did you ever see that?
I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure I watched it with the kids.
There's a Disney movie Soul about a middle school band teacher. I saw that. I was like, my God, that is me. He's like loses his fire and his energy. So I was there and I was like, I need to get out of here.
Yes.
I saw a Facebook ad for a business coach that was teaching people how to leave their jobs and create an ad agency. But the way he spoke to me so perfectly and personally. His marketing was so on point and amazing. Like he could have told me, like, I'm going to teach you how to be an elephant tamer, and I would have signed up for his course. So I followed him for months, and I was like, this guy knows me. Yeah. He's such an amazing marketer.
He was talking to you.
Yeah, like what you want to do as a marketer. And so I finally scheduled a call with him. My wife was a part-time teacher. I wasn't making anything. We were paying $1,500 a month in student loan debt. So my credit cards are maxed out. But I had to call with this guy, and then I said, I'm signing up for your thing. Like, I was sold before the call. Paid $4,000, hired this coach. And over the next 4 months, like, I made $40,000 with this ad agency that he taught me to make. So 10 times my investment. Over the next year, I built this ad agency up to like 5 times my monthly teaching income. Like, because I was a teacher at the beginning stage, so I wasn't making a lot of money. So for me, I was making, like, it was the month before COVID. And my monthly income was $15,000 from this ad agency on top of everything I was making as a teacher. So for me, that was blowing my brains. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I'll be able to quit my job, have my dream life, because it's going to keep on going up from here. Then COVID hit. I lost every single client, went to $0 for a year straight. Had to go back to scratch. And I became really depressed. Like, it ripped my heart out because for this whole year, I was like working 18 hours a day, all day, full-time job, family, plus trying to build this business. And then it all went away because our clients were realtors and they weren't allowed to practice. So again, when I was making momentum, I was getting in better shape, taking better care of myself because I was in a better mood. But then when I got depressed and got upset, all that kind of went back away and I spiraled a little bit. So there was like an in-between time. And I said, I want to be an entrepreneur. Like, I want to start a business, but what I want to do has to make me a better person. I said, because when I was running an ad agency, I was making money, which was great, but it was also, there was very toxic parts of it. Like toxic clients, just constantly checking my phone for emails. Like, I remember being on Valentine's Day with my wife and we get some crappy email from a client. It was just nonstop. I didn't enjoy that. So I said, whatever I want to go into now, I want it to be what I think about all the time. What I think about, I was obsessed with being a father. Ever since the day my son was born, I was like, man, there's nothing better than this. I said I need to get back into the shape I want to be in. So
Mm-hmm.
at this point, I didn't create Rising Father as a profitable business. I just said I want to create this brand that lets me pour into it what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
And then if I think about these things, then I will start to talk about it, start to do it, and I'll become that. And that kind of
Yeah.
just happened over
Yeah.
the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And during COVID, I started jujitsu. I lost 30, 40 pounds over the next couple of years. I joined another men's program called Superhuman Fathers. I joined his program, and then he showed me how to build the business. I like a coaching program. Plus, he got me shredded as well. So I lost a lot of weight, got in
Common
shape.
themes here. Common
Yeah,
themes.
and then and then that was like a year ago. And then over the past year, I've built my own coaching program that's been super successful, been taking off. Quit my job last May. And now we've got guys quitting alcohol, quitting porn, losing 80 pounds and just completely transforming their lives. And my life is completely different.
Yeah.
So sorry if that took too long.
No, it's great. I always like to hear the story. You know, we all have such a unique way of how we got here. And I love that also when I interview people on the show, and as it's true for me, there's this intersection of really just finally getting to the point where you say, you know what, screw it. Like, I'm going to do what really lights me up, what I'm excited about, what makes me passionate. And things start to lock into place when we start moving in that direction. But it just requires that trust, that faith, that, you know, perseverance. And I love how you say, I wasn't meaning to end up here, but this is all just, it's almost like this stuff comes around to support you in the process too, which is so awesome. And I just talked to so many people that are at that intersection of like, I've been doing this forever, decades, you know, building this business or whatever it is, running this company, doing this job. And secretly they're longing for their escape. You know, they have something else they want to build. They have something else. And sometimes it's just spending more time with their family. Sometimes it's a totally different business, moving, whatever. But there's a lot of people at that crossroads going like, what's next? What's next? I know I want something more. And so they're kind of half-hearted, staying in where they're at, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Also in their marriage, especially in their marriage, they say they want a great marriage, but it's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And, you know, it is so much. I want to just jump into that because what do we say to the man that's got 1 foot in, 1 foot out? Like 1 foot in over here, but I also want to do that. One of the things I get often is that, and this is hilarious, guys, if you're listening, I apologize. And I don't. Often I will get people that reach out and say, you know what, Christine, there's something wrong with my wife. My wife, she's non-responsive. She doesn't have any passion or like, you know, I'm the driven one. There's something wrong with her. Yep. And it's always kind of a chuckle because ultimately it's like always a reflection. But what do you say to the guy who's like, you know what? It's just like, I'm doing it, but I'm not getting the results I want. And, you know, I got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Maybe you do, maybe you don't know. How do we make it better?
In terms of marriage, we want to start there.
Yeah, let's start with marriage. That's a place where a lot of people reach out.
Yeah. Well, I would say if your goal is worthwhile to you, then you can't be impatient with it. If your goal is to have a strong, healthy marriage, then trying to rush it, take a shortcut, isn't the right way. Like, what is your marriage worth to you? Is it the most meaningful relationship in your life? Is that what it should be? Is that what you truly want it to be? If that's what you truly want it to be, then it's worth taking years to work at. It's worth pushing through obstacles. It's worth pushing through resistance. It's worth dealing with the crappy things she might say to you that you could have caused or not caused. Like, what is your wife worth taking some heat from her? Yes. Is the relationship worth it? Yes. Do you want to get a divorce? Say it right now. Like, there's a guy I was talking to. He was complaining about his wife. I said, okay, well, do you want to get a divorce?
Yeah.
It's like, no. So, okay, then nothing you're saying to me matters right now. You need to do the hard work. And it's never going to be, there's a Buddhist concept that says suffering is whenever we try to change things that we cannot change. Like we introduce suffering to our life whenever we want things to be as they are not. You cannot change other people. What do you have to do? You have to build yourself into, in my group, we call it the lighthouse. That's just a rock of a man who magnetizes people to him, who no matter how hard the storm is coming, even if that storm is coming from your wife, you still are stoic. You have your principles. You have your non-negotiables. You can be leaned on, can be relied upon, and you spread warmth and light. And then but that takes time.
It takes time.
If you have a timetable,
it takes time to become the lighthouse if you've been the hurricane.
Yeah. But is it worth it to you?
Yeah.
If it's worth it to you, it can take time.
Yeah. I love that. It's really deciding. Do you want to be in or do you want out? Like if you're in, then stop thinking about all the other things that are going wrong and start building that foundation again. I love the lighthouse principle. I love that. I just said that to someone yesterday too. Suffering comes from the outside world doesn't match our expectations of how we think it should go or what we want it to look like. And in my opinion, suffering is totally optional. It's totally optional. So, and I think that's a great lead in into use the word stoic or stoicism, which I love the stoic principles, but stoic does not mean emotionally immature, unavailable, unguarded. Like, let's talk about that for a second. Because I know one of the things, now I think there's more and more support for men around like talking about what's coming up, accessing their emotions and their heart and all of that, while also leading from a powerful place. Like, what does it look like for somebody to go, okay, how do I start to get to become that lighthouse? Like what's the starting point for you, especially emotionally? Maybe you don't start with the emotion. Maybe you start with something else, right?
Yeah. I think the emotional issues guys have are a symptom of a disease that is much deeper. If you're in a lot, and like in my program, if you're having issues in your marriage, parenting, alcoholism, whatever it is, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
If you are undisciplined, and if you do not have healthy habits and routines in place, if you do not take care of yourself physically, we don't focus on anything else until you've started there.
Amen.
So
yes.
if I cannot say no to food coming into my mouth when I'm stressed, when my wife says something to me that pisses me off, I'm not going to have the emotional control to not snap at her.
Right.
And it all comes down to just our physical urges. Like, can I get myself out of bed when I say I'm going to? If I can't, then that means I have a natural chemical dependency on taking the easy way out. And those grooves in the snow, like where you're sledding down a mountain, your grooves are so ingrained that you're used to taking the easy way out all the time. And the easy way out in our marriage is having no emotional filter or time between the trigger and our response.
Yeah.
So our wife comes after us, which they do sometimes. They're not perfect, and they might be emotional too. And then they say something to you, and instead of deciding how you're going to react to your emotion, you just blast out and you blurt out.
Yeah. I want to pause for a second because you said something really awesome. And I'm a woman on the other side. So I also want to say this. I used to be that woman that could never handle a man's no. Like, I was just fiercely independent. I wanted to fight all the time. And so, you create these dynamics. But now today I love, like, when we talk about healthy dynamics, healthy relationships, like, ladies, you want a man who can say no. Because if he can say no to that food, or he can say, no, I'm going to go do my workout first, that means he's also going to say no when he's tempted. He knows how to say no to open doors or to other temptations, right? If I have a man in my life that doesn't have any self-control, is always passive, always a pushover, then that's how cheating comes into our relationships. That's how, it was one extra drink and then it's everybody else's fault, or it's everything else. But there's a lack of ownership. So I remember saying that to my ladies group and even the men. It's sometimes like, you want a man that actually has those boundaries, that can say no, even no to us sometimes. But because if he can't say no here, he's not going to be able to say no there. And that's a massive red flag. I mean, for me, in terms of relationships, like, do you have the conviction?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a weak man can just destroy his family.
Yeah.
And if that's the way you're used to living your life, a lot of times those guys will choose a stronger lady. And maybe you can give me some perspective. Maybe a lady who is used to choosing weak men enjoys that for a moment, but then I've seen,
it's exhausting.
It creates massive resentment, and forces the lady into a role she doesn't want. And then the guy, he twists the logic and says, well, happy wife, happy life. I'm being a noble man. But in my opinion, no, you're being a snake.
You're,
you are you're holding deep down the man you truly are, and you're not willing to do the hard thing because you're too afraid. So
yeah.
no, you're not being noble. You're being extremely weak. So
Yeah.
those guys need an
Totally.
intervention.
Totally agree. And yes, from the feminine perspective, when you said snake, because when you talk about that, my perspective on that is yes. I used to be, I'm still very strong willed. Look, my husband and I, we're both very strong, but I used to attract that kind of person where I would just be able to bulldoze over them, and it felt good. You get your little power trip for a minute until it's really exhausting because this guy doesn't make decisions for himself, and he's
Yeah.
not leading, and he's not holding the space for you. And so the other thing I hear is like these women, and I know, from working with women, from being this woman, from even talking to the men, like what she's always exhausted. She's always tired. She doesn't, it's like, yeah, because she has to be the structure for the relationship all the time. And if guys can come in and provide that structure, a woman can relax, and even a strong-willed woman will start to open up,
Mm-hmm.
soften, and you become like the safe haven. You're the harbor, right? You're the lighthouse. You're the harbor, and she can come in, and you guys can enjoy like some relaxed time together instead of just always being told and hiding from her. And also what you just said about earlier was that self-discipline is also about keeping promises to yourself. Because I
Mm-hmm.
want to say for women, the hardest thing is like, well, you say one thing, but you don't follow through. You don't follow through. And so we've got these women that are nagging. Like, are you going to do it? Did you do it? You said you were going to do it. And they're checking in on you, like treating you like a toddler. But it's because you don't keep promises to yourself. You don't keep promises to yourself. How are you going to keep them to anyone else?
Yeah. And, guys can fix that. You can fix that by doing small things. If
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson always talks about, and many other people talk about, if you can fix your bed, you can get
Yeah.
started. And it's just a common concept. But it's the truth, though. Like if you, and
Yeah.
we used to, in my group, in a lot of groups, we start with just the basics, like build healthy routines and habits in place that you can prove to yourself that you can actually believe yourself once again. Because if you are constantly breaking promises to yourself, you say, tomorrow's the day I stop drinking. Tomorrow's the day I do my workout. Tomorrow's the day I go to the gym. And day after day, you disprove yourself. You're lying to yourself and you're creating immense distrust to yourself. Like if there's one person you should
Yes.
not
Come
lie
on.
to, it is yourself. Because once you
Mm-hmm.
start lying to yourself, anything you predict, anything you tell yourself for the future, your subconscious is like, nah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So you can make goals for yourself, and you know it's not true, and then you have this horrible mental battle going on that just is torturous for yourself. And then obviously your wife and children experience the same thing.
Yeah.
Your kid, then your kids won't listen to you. They're not going to respect you because like, oh well, dad's a hypocrite. Your wife, you're gonna be, oh, I'm gonna start working out. Your wife's gonna say, okay, all right. And then
Let's see you do it.
I've had a guy who he's told me he had a $50 spending limit from his wife. I was like, okay, and cool. I was like, all right. Well,
You guys watching on video
here.
did not see my facial expression on that.
Yeah, and oh, you go crazier than that. This all came up in the middle of a sales call. He said, my wife doesn't allow me out of the bed until she's awake. And I said, well, we're not talking about anything else until we dive into this.
Yeah.
But like, how does that situation happen? It didn't start out like
Yeah.
that. Like they didn't. It's
No.
because throughout this conversation, it turned out that he was a gambler. He lost all their money. He was an alcoholic.
Yeah. Of course.
He is such a liability to the family that she has a massive short leash on him. That he's just an adult baby causing chaos and havoc in their life.
Exactly. She's got to manage him like an infant.
Yeah, and now, sure, she could handle it differently, yes.
Yes.
But for me, I'm always going to say from the guy's perspective, you need to massively fix yourself first.
Yes.
She does not want to be this way. I feel bad for her. No. She should have left you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I'm glad you said that. Women, they don't want to be like that. Guys, if you're listening, they don't want to be the nagging. They don't want to be the one. And all of that is still fear, right? Fear that he's going to go screw it up again. Fear that he's going to mess it up. I'm going to have to clean up after him again. Fear that I'm going to have to clean up his mistakes. And I always say, like, God is a God of order and excellence. Like, God is not a God of chaos, So all the sloppiness that we have, I think as we start going, like, I want to become a better leader. It's like, what do we get to start cleaning up? Let's talk about some of those. And I know they sound so basic. You guys are probably like, oh, I already know what I should do. But I used to own a gym, and in Canada for 10 years, and people would always come in and they would be like 40 pounds overweight. We'd start talking about nutrition. They'd be like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, no, you don't know. Or you wouldn't still be sitting here fat, tired, not sleeping, full of inflammation. So you might think you know, but you don't know until you do it consistently. It's like in your bones, in your body, it's in your nervous system. What are some of the basic practices? Like if you're like, okay, start with these core 5. Like what are the, and everybody has our own version of this, but what are the like super simple, most basic places, core disciplines that somebody must master?
And it doesn't matter even if you do know. Before I say that, like, because I got ripped with P90X, then I got married. I still had the same DVDs. I still had the same workout plan. I still had the same nutrition plan, but I changed as a person. I lost my discipline. Tony Robbins and Tony Horton and the best nutritionists and body trainers could have came down and gave me a personal one-on-one. It wouldn't have mattered. I was sloppy and undisciplined. I couldn't use the information. So I changed. So how do you change all that? What the core principles is, like, do you want me to go through steps or more broad? Like fitness is one of them.
Well, I think like let's make it practical and tactical, but then also, you can give people a toolbox and they won't pick up the tools and use them. So fine, like let's lay out the tools. And sometimes it is like you just need to take action, like do the things and the motivation will come. But to your point, if you don't deal with what's underneath the hood, the
so
tools are
and a lot of times stuff is revealed to you once you cover the basics. And I use, if you know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, he talks about, working on your primal instincts first: survival, sleep, food. And then after you work your way up, level 5 is self-actualization. So a lot of your issues can't be tackled until you master the basics. If the food coming into your body is destroying you, you are not going to have the headspace to worry about your purpose. And a lot of guys are like, why do I have no purpose? Why do I have no fulfillment? Well, if I gave you your purpose, could you handle it? Or would it be a massive waste in your life right now?
Right.
Like, why would God give you a purpose? The number one thing that you're supposed to impact the most amount of people right now, if you're going to be wasting it, you're not ready for it. You can't even get yourself out of bed. So here's an action plan. And like, I'll give you like my group outline, and I'll boil it down. And that is, sure, these things are basic and simple, but they're not easy. Give yourself a wake-up time 1 hour earlier than you're used to, and do it for 7 days in a row. I challenge you to do that. I guarantee 90% of the people won't be able to do it. You'll maybe do it the first time. And if you can do it 7 days in a row, first off, you're going to feel much more confident and stronger. And some of that fire is going to come back with you. You're like, oh my God, I can get up early. I remember the first time I got up at 4 a.m., I was like, oh my gosh, I can actually do this. I thought this was for other people. And, you get up early. So wake up 1 hour earlier than you're used to. Step 1. Step 2 is do a workout. I don't care what it is. Go to the gym or do it in your basement. Do a 30-minute workout, whatever's going to be for you. Get up early, do a workout before your family is awake. So then you don't have to come home from work. Your wife and kids want to see you, and you go to the gym. So do it before they even wake up. Step 3, journal. It doesn't have to be an hour-long thing. Journal for 5 minutes. Get your thoughts on paper. And for me, I have lots of different, I could talk for an hour on journaling, but for me, journaling is me putting on paper who I am as a person. So that day I can live up to that. So I say, what are things bothering me? I'm putting it down here. Who do I want to be today? Put that on. So we have wake up early. We have go to the gym. Then we have journal. 4 is act of service for your family, specifically for your wife. So that's part of my program. It's like non-negotiable. It's you before she wakes up. You need to clean the kitchen, do the dishes, do something that is for her. You want to be a leader? Okay, lead.
Serve.
Being a leader does not mean it's something I deserve. You have to earn that every single day. And then step 5 is do something. We'll go to the kids. Is do something intentionally for them that day that shows you are present with them. And for us, we have like a fatherhood checklist we do. There's 5 things. One of them is just 10, 15 minutes at the end of the day, no screen time with each kid. So if you can, and these are all the areas that matters. It's your body, your health, your mindset, your wife, your kids, And if you do all of these, you can all 5 of those things you can do before your family even opens their eyes. What
Yeah.
are you going to feel like at 6 a.m. if you've done all of this?
So
And then
much success, right? You're
yeah,
already like, I'm a winner. I'm already accomplished.
and
I'm
all these things
crushing
cost
it.
$0.
Right.
They're things
Yeah.
you can do to yourself.
Yeah. I want to pause there because there's so much. And you guys, it's so true. Like, it's so simple that we won't do it because we always want the complicated thing. It always has to be something else. And it's like, no, it's really the simple stacks. And I love that. And I know even for Mark, my husband, we're totally different rhythms. We were just talking last night in bed. I was like, my rhythm is like, I get up early, but I have a slower pace to my morning. I start my calls around like 11:30 or noon. And then I work for I have a big workflow and I do like a mid-morning workout and stuff. And I do all my creative work. He's like, I need to work from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. And that's like my peak performance time. So he also, like, when he gets up and he does the workout before the kids get up, and he writes me a daily brief, like a daily email before I wake up of like, just, it's kind of like a love note. And I talk about it a lot on my podcast, but also he's like kind of leading the conversation for the day, the week, logistics. And he always has my coffee ready when I wake up. And I got to tell you all, I love my coffee. Yep. But the daily brief, I'm sharing that with you, Chris, because it has been a game changer in our marriage. Because it was all the logistical stuff that was just wasting our conversations during the day. It was like, well, what's going on with the kids? And what about this? And what about this? And then we were wasting great time talking about logistical stuff that could have just been like cleaned up. Yeah. And then I get that usually it's like a, scripture or something he's meditated on or something he read, and like just a really like lovely thought or word for me. And it's just so great. And it's a point of connection and I respond to it. But I'm just doubling down on what you were saying, that often you'll have a different rhythm. Like, we have different rhythms, and sometimes we're all trying to just have the same rhythm and it doesn't work. Like, know yourself, get up, do the things. And it's so important to start the day feeling accomplished, feeling like you've already hit the things that matter. And obviously I have my own list of that, but I love that. And I love the serve her, because that's also a shift that I see is like, guys, I love you, but it's like you wake up and you're expecting everyone to serve you. It's like, mommy, did you make my lunch? Yeah, it's like miserable. So good. So good. Okay, Chris, sounds so great, but I don't have that luxury. Ever heard anyone? Yeah, have you ever heard that one? I don't have the luxury of getting up and working out because I got to get up and work.
Yeah, well, guess what? I did it. I earned my current spot where I was able to quit my job. Yeah. But for years, I woke up at 3:45 a.m. every day. Yeah. And went to the gym, did all this stuff. And then I went and taught middle school band for 8 hours. Yeah. And then I came home. So you can do it. Almost every single guy in my group is doing this. And almost all of them, we got high level business guys, extremely successful, talented people with high pressure jobs. One guy in particular, he just posted one of his transformation photos. He runs 6 different businesses, and he does all of our stuff early morning, runs 6 businesses, comes home, and then is a husband and father because guess what? He's disciplined. If he can do it, you can do it. And that's one of the good things about being in groups like yours and mine is you other people steal your excuses because we bullshit ourselves so much. We say, no, my life circumstances, I'm unique. No one else has it as hard as I do. And then you'll see someone who has it 10 times harder than you do, and they're still getting it done. Like, oh, it's possible for me too.
So when somebody, and I totally agree. I absolutely agree. You just have to make the decision. This is kind of the recipe. Like you want to create something, you need the building blocks, you need the ingredients. And so you just have to decide what you're building, what you're creating, what you want. And so to that person that's lost their fire, because, that's a real feeling, man, I feel like I'm losing it. I'm losing my edge. I'm losing my mojo. I'm losing my drive. Or I have the opposite where when I actually have to work with guys to tell them to slow down because they're going way too hard and they're afraid. Well, if I slow down, then I'm going to lose the drive. But to somebody who's lost their drive, lost their motivation, or going through maybe a season, I know of depression because they've been stacking and suppressing things and numbing for so long, drinking and all this stuff. What do you say to that guy? Like, how does he get himself out of that rut? And maybe we've already answered the question.
Yeah, and even so, it's worth talking about again.
Yeah.
I would say that first off, who you are right now is perfectly fine. You're
Mm-hmm.
worthy as you are right now. You are. There's nothing wrong with anything you're feeling right now. You're not alone. Millions of guys feel like that. I feel like that. I get depressed. I get stressed. I get
Yeah,
anxious. I would
totally.
also say that you have to earn your feeling. Like you don't. The feeling of fire, the feeling of confidence, the feeling of strength isn't a lightning strike. Every single morning, I wake up not wanting to get out of bed. But when I'm up, like I'm not. Some people say, "Hey, I get out of bed, I jump out of bed with a smile on my face." I don't think I think it's bullshit. I've never done that ever. As soon as my alarm goes off, I want to continue to sleep. But a couple hours into the day, I feel amazing. Why do I feel amazing? Because I've earned that feeling. So how do you earn the feeling? By doing the things we talked about.
Yeah.
By proving to yourself that you are a consistent, disciplined person who is actively improving his life. If you are
Mm-hmm.
depressed, I guarantee you do not have healthy routines and habits in place that you're doing every single morning that make you feel on fire.
Mm-hmm.
If you do, then you got complacent and you need to push yourself further in some of these areas or switch it up.
Yes.
But if you're feeling depressed and down and you're in that kind of season, you probably are feeling that way because you gave up these things that you know make you feel good. Like for me, and we have something in our group called a fire list. Every guy has to have their fire list. It is the things I know about myself that I know make me feel on fire. And I got mine in front of me
Yes.
on my whiteboard. I'm a music nerd. I have pump up classical. I have having sex. I have physical
Yes.
feats. I have closing
Yeah.
people. I have waking up early. I have like 20 things that I
Yeah.
know make me
Yeah.
feel amazing. But for every guy, it's individual for them. And if you're in
Mm-hmm.
your 30s, 40s, 50s, by this time you should know what makes you feel great. So write it down. And if you're not feeling good, look at your list. I guarantee you did none of those things.
Yeah.
And if you wake up feeling down, guess what? So does every other guy in the world. You don't feel good until you earn the feeling of feeling good. So you
Yeah.
have to get your butt up and do something that makes you feel good. And it doesn't mean asking for something. It means you giving more.
You
It means,
generate it, you create
yes,
it, right? You
have to
build it.
give energy, not
Yeah.
take energy.
Yeah. I want to really double down on that because that's a really important concept because we are so conditioned in this world programming that I go take from you. And I see this a lot in the masculine and feminine dynamics. They're coming to the woman to get this strength. They're coming to her to get clarity.
Yeah.
They're coming. And it's like, no, you got to bring it. You got to bring it. So if you're going to bring it, where are you going to get it from? You have to generate it. And that's a cool thing. It's like we are generating machines for this stuff, for fire, but we have to like light that first match. I love the list. I love the fact that you have the whiteboard. I'm always asking myself when I feel most alive, most like myself, what am I doing? And it's so true that we have to create the feeling. Like it's like being that lighthouse. That's that concept of you're just not it. You don't want to be ruled by feelings because the feeling right now, I don't feel like wanting to do anything. I feel like drinking again. I feel like sitting and doing nothing. So you have to generate. I hope you guys are getting this. So much gold. It's like you have to always be generating the feeling that you want, the atmosphere that you want. So good. And the other thing you said that I think is important because you might be doing all those things. I mean, I'm going to raise my hand too. Just I'm a woman, I'm not a guy, but I was very masculine in nature and I was doing double workouts. You know, I was a world-class athlete for a season and I had the gym. I was training all the time. And I still kind of felt like I was losing my fire because I was going through the motions. I was doing what I always did. And now it became like, okay, if I don't do it, I felt guilt and obligation and all this stuff. So it was like, it was time for me to evolve and stretch. You're a music nerd, but I actually started dancing and I'm like, I love dancing. And I started singing and I have a drum back there. You can't see it. It's around the corner. But I started doing these other things that were stretching me and challenging me and using my body in new ways and my, just creating in new ways. And boom, the fire comes up again. So whether it's the work, whether it's the workout, you got to ask yourself, if I've been doing this forever, is it pushing myself harder? Sometimes yes. Sometimes it's like changing it up altogether and doing something different.
And sometimes you need to start serving people more. Like instead
Yes.
of focusing on yourself so much and how I can be happier, like there's a cup that is like, how do you fill your cup? Well, you have to empty it. If I just keep on filling my cup, nothing can come in. Like I just keep on pouring self-development. But if I'm not sharing it with people,
So true.
Like an idea not shared is another idea you can't get into you because
Yeah.
you don't have room for anything else. So
Yeah.
if you have this amazing self-development routine and you're like, I'm so
Mm.
successful, why don't I feel good? Well, are you
Hoarding. You're
inspiring
hoarding it.
somebody? Are you mentoring
Yeah.
anybody? Are
Yeah.
you lifting up another guy who was where you once were? And maybe that's your next level. Like maybe it's like levels
Yes.
to a video game. Maybe you've
Totally.
mastered level 1, you're ready for level 2, and maybe level 2 is you find a guy who's where you once were and you bring him up. That's your new
Yeah.
challenge.
I love that. So good. So good. We always are asking, praying, wanting, chasing abundance, prosperity, the next thing, but it's not fulfilling until it starts pouring out of you back onto others. I love that. Start serving. Well, they say if you're depressed, go serve somebody, right?
Yeah.
If you feel like you're lacking purpose, go volunteer, go help somebody. And I totally love that too about I do think that we all get to a point uh, where we're being called to mentor our employees, mentor our teams. And even Mark and I were having that conversation the other day. Is like we were talking with our coaches, and the guy said, you know, Mark, I think you're also entering the season where it's time for you to pass the baton on to your people and teach them everything that you know, not just as employees, but like to really pour into them all of the wisdom and all of the knowledge. And then you empty yourself, and then the next thing comes through, like the next thing that God has for you. You know, it's so true. And I definitely think that that has a lot to do with people feeling stuck, is that they are stuck in the minutia of just doing, working, hustling, grinding, and they're not passing on that wisdom.
Yeah, it might be a time for you to enter a new phase of your life.
Yeah. No, it's so good. So good. Chris, what are you excited about this day? So we've done a lot of, I just want to recap here, you guys. We talked about some disciplines, the simple things that really are the game changers. We talked about how to regain your mojo, how to connect, you know, and really lead at home, winning the day at the top. There's so much stuff. And a lot of these things, I want to reiterate that a lot of these things are simple things, but we think we know, but we don't do. Or we do them out of, you know, frustration or resentment. And it's the heart behind the doing. So, you know, just really it's an opportunity to just look inward. But let's just, as we pivot and start to close, like what are you passionate about these days? What's your, you know, body of work that you're excited about?
We have our first men's retreat coming up. I'm super excited about that. This can be in Wisconsin at an amazing location, 3 nights. So we're planning breakthrough workshops, and just
Nice.
our community is all virtual. So we're really excited about getting to meet in
Yes.
person. And there's a huge lake there. We're gonna do some cold plunges,
Yeah.
we have some military guys coming out to do some Navy SEAL style training,
Good.
and it's going to be a bunch of that. So I'm excited about that. I mean, I'm business wise, you know, writing a kid's book and working on some courses. So everything's going great. Podcast is doing well. So excited
Nice.
about everything. Living a good life.
Yes. Yeah, it's good. A kid's book. That'll be fun.
Yeah, just a real simple father book. Like because I was inspired by some of the books that I read, that my wife got as a gift for me to read to my son when he was even younger. And it was just simple books about the connection between a son and his father. So I want to write a similar type of book.
What is that series? Do you remember?
Not off the top of my head. And it was a oh, man, it's like right upstairs. It's next to my nightstand. It's one of my favorite books.
So awesome.
Because my son picked it out. And my wife got it for me, but I just love it.
How old is your son?
Right now he's 10. My daughter's 8.
Yeah. Mark reads the Tuttle twins. Our son loves, like, our son Everett. He's 8. And that's one of his favorite things at night is when dad reads with him. And they've been reading these series of the Tuttle twins series, but it's actually a lot of really great core values, principles, solid foundations through these stories. And it's such a special time. So we're always leaving a legacy. We're always planting seeds. I love it that you're writing a kid's book. That's awesome. And congratulations on the retreat. I love doing live events. They're so awesome. There's nothing like getting in person. I mean, I'm grateful for technology, but it's a different thing that happens when people get together in person.
Absolutely.
So, well, Chris, thanks for being on the show today. How can people connect with you if they want to find you, learn more about what you're doing? Obviously, we're going to drop the link below, but what's the best way for people to connect and follow you?
Best way is Instagram. It's just at Rising Father. You can check out risingfather.com. It has my podcast and blogs and all that kind of stuff and instructions on how to get involved. But Instagram's the best way to contact me or check out what's going on.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being here, guys. If you enjoyed the show, as always, this is how we spread the word. You've just hit forward. You share this podcast episode with a friend, somebody that is coming to mind. Take the Work Integrated. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe, leave a review. Again, all of these things are so simple, but they really help us get the message into more hands. And I want to remind you guys that Drop the Armor is dropping June 3rd. It is available for pre-order and for a limited time. I am offering the first couple chapters for free. The chapter on the perfect storm, the breakdown moment, that was the breakthrough moment that changed everything in my life. I think it's going to really hit home. So make sure that you connect with Chris, get those free chapters, get the book, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye for now.